to call the meeting to order. If you guys will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just real quick, obviously, you don't see Dr. Libby here. He is on vacation until next Tuesday. So we will not have any recognition or superintendent reports tonight. So we will move on to item C, which is our book study. The last two chapters that we had to cover were basically, now that we've read all this research, what can schools do now, and what can parents do now? I did want to read something that I guess first and foremost, I'll say from the book's perspective, the solution is phone-free schools. And I know several of us, you guys have mentioned that, and so we can kind of continue to have discussions and take action from this point, but that's the recommendation from the book. And then there was a paragraph on the parents that I thought would be nice to read. Obviously, it's not our jurisdiction to say what parents do, but if you didn't read the book or you want to know what it says in 3 sentences, I think this is it. It says, our job as parents is not to make a particular kind of child. Instead, our job is to provide a protected space of love, safety, and stability in which children of many unpredictable kinds can flourish. Our job is not to shape our children's minds. It's to let those minds explore all the possibilities that the world allows. Our job is not to tell children how to play. It's to give them the toys. We can't make children learn, but we can let them learn. So I think that's pretty cool, pretty powerful. It just goes back to play-based childhood versus the phone-based childhood. So if I summed it up in a nutshell, that's what I got out of it. But I'd like to turn it over to you guys if you had any other comments from the book.
I like the. Okay. So, obviously I'm pro the phone-free schools. But I wanted to just point out, I thought it was really interesting. And when I started looking outside of even the book, because one of the things that happened in that leadership meeting was they said, the book's dated, which it is. That's absolutely true. A lot of the information is absolutely great and still very relevant. But the biggest thing for me is I started looking outside and I actually realized that, and I was trying to look it up on my phone, which, funny, because it's on my phone, right? But I had written it down in a note that I had taken, and now I can't find it. But ultimately, I believe there's about 7 states right now that have legislation that outlaws having cell phones in the schools. And so I thought that was really interesting. And if you start looking at those laws and how they're written and why they were ever implemented to begin with, I think that that's very much a lot of what I know my concerns are and ultimately what it is that we see. And I think that when it comes to doing our policy or anything like that, that would be a great place to begin looking when it comes to what we'd actually want on there with enforceability. And then outside of that, there were also ones that restricted state legislation that actually restricted the use of the phones, not necessarily prohibiting it, but other states that then came in and said, well, if they're going to be within the school district and they're going to be utilized, this is what we're going to do. And so I just found that very interesting. I didn't know, obviously, I didn't realize that it had gotten to the point where there are multiple states out there that have outlawed the actual use within schools. And so I found that really interesting more than anything. And I'm hopeful that we can utilize a lot of that when it comes to the idea of taking cell phones out of our schools, at least at the most during class time.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that we read the book. It did come out in 2024, so the fact that it's dated is just because that's how there's a lag in data. It's actually about as up to date as you could be at this moment. So obviously we'll always be a couple years behind data. So I like what you shared, Cole, about the community. The best thing we could possibly do is if as a community, we could step up and make some really bold moves and band together and not give smartphones to kids under the age of 16 and or out of high school or no social media till 16. That'd be nice. But I think there's a lot. I think if you talk to any parent one-on-one, not any, but most, they'll agree that this isn't healthy for our kids. So maybe we need to start a trend where we start working against backwards. That would be the most effective way to go. But after reading the book, I'm 100% no cell phones, bell to bell. I'm an advocate for it. The states have passed these laws. I'll be emailing my representatives. I think that it should become the law. I think when we learn about what's happened to our kids' brains and how they can't focus, there's no reason for cell phones in schools. It'd be hard to convince me otherwise. I'm willing to work together with anybody on plans and whatnot, but I think anything short of bell to bell is hurting our kids. 100%. I think there's no other way to do it. Whether that's lockers or pouches or just leave your phone at home, including smartwatches and earbuds and all these things. If we truly care about our kids' mental health and their education, bell to bell is the only solution, in my opinion.
I'm really with Josh on this one, that to get the greatest benefit, it's going to have to be a bell to bell. I would say after, and the book's full of some great information that we have, but in speaking with parents out there, we're going to have to do a lot of education. I think our staff is pretty much on board with this, but there are a lot of parents who still have a really firm stance that they need their kid to have a phone because X, Y, and Z. And it's not the minority. Well, it might be the minority, but it's a very loud one. Yeah, if so. So I think it seems clear from what we've learned that it's the right thing to do. But the next step is going to be convincing the masses, and sometimes that M is silent.
I'll say this real quick, just to that point, Matt. Along with this discussion around cell phones and the concealed carry that we're going to have just to the public, like obviously we are in the point of discussing these things and having these conversations. So it's a great time to provide feedback if you have any. One other thing I'd say to this as well is maybe Murray or Stephanie can help us, but Chris Kundle, I'm hoping you guys saw her email, but she provided a couple of attachments in reference to this book that I thought were great summaries and great benefit. So if you haven't read the book or kind of want the Cliff Notes version, maybe we can post it on the website and have it available as a resource. Right, Cole, were you grabbing the mic? Do you want to comment? Okay.
I don't know that I can add much more to what you said in this last one. I mean, there wasn't a lot of things other than the idea is we need to get phones out of schools. I mean, I'm with you guys. I think that there is a way to reduce what we're doing. I do think as a district, we really are pushing this as a phone. I think we need as a district, there is another screen that we are in complete control of, and we are doing a lot of pushing it right now. And that's something that maybe we need to look at as well. That has nothing to do with the book, so I couldn't add much more to the book, but as a general screen time, we have one screen that we have in front of every kid from pre-K to 12, and they're carrying them everywhere. So
yeah, I believe there's been some discussion, maybe you can comment to it, Danielle, but around some of the technology language. The discussions I've been a part of are maybe changing the wording from shall to may. And while I completely agree with you guys that in the wrong hands or at the wrong time or unobserved, they can be used for harm or bad. You know, there's another part to the argument of schools doing things like, I'll use Pilot Butte as an example with the principal's challenge and having students meet certain percentages of IXL or whatnot throughout the year, to where if observed or using it for the right uses or whatever, I think could be a benefit as well. However, if you change the language to may instead of a strict shall or shall not, it provides the parent the opportunity to make that decision. So in a household where they want it and they're using it for the right reasons, it's allowed. In a household where they don't want it and don't want their kids to have the unobserved time or whatever, then that doesn't happen either. So I think there's already some ongoing discussion about some changes on that front.
Yeah, and I would reiterate that is something that has been brought up in policy, in the policy committee about changing the shall to a may, not requiring those devices go home, especially when it's sunny and 70 degrees out, as far as that goes, which is a really interesting thing and something that I think does need to happen. The other thing that I just wanted to point out that I thought was interesting, going off of what you were just saying, Cole, is at the leadership meeting, it was really interesting to hear the teacher or the administration say how hard it is to, you can take the cell phone out of the classroom, but then you have this computer sitting in front of them and they just get on YouTube. And YouTube is one of the most disliked things that a lot of the staff and the teachers are dealing with. So I do think that we need to be looking at exactly what it is that we're utilizing and allowing our students to be able to access on there as well, whether that's during school time or at home.
Just before I get under the microscope here, to be transparent as well, I believe the discussion was as well that if the weather was predicting that there was a chance of a stay-at-home day, that they might be asked in that situation to take the technology home. But it would be, that's maybe 1 or 2 days a year versus the current policy. So just before that
Yeah.
comes under fire.
I'm glad you brought that up, Cole, because I think we missed the other half of the book through this whole thing. So the phone-based childhood we're doing with our kids now, but we used to have a play-based childhood, and somewhere in the 80s, and if you look back, it started to diminish to the point now where he liked to make the point of a eight-year-old walking down the street and the parent getting turned into DFS because they let their 8-year-old walk on the street alone. And depending on what age you are, you would do that when you were a kid. You'd just go roaming around. And so I think that's the other part we need to address, is not just taking away phones in school, but finding a way to increase play-based learning, whether that's increasing recess. I know I've had many PE teachers beg for more PE in school, and one PE teacher actually told me that they teach the most important class of the day because they actually get kids moving around, and I think there's some truth to that. And so it's not just necessarily taking the phones away, but adding. But that goes back to the devices. And I know Mr. Wright and I disagree on it a little bit, and that's totally fine. I'm for never sending devices home in elementary school at all, no matter what, because we own these devices and we're choosing to let them have these screens at home. That could be one way towards trying to encourage kids to just do something else. Like, you don't need a screen in front of you. And if parents want to choose to buy computers for their kids to learn, that's great. But I think there's a lot to be said for we need to start encouraging playing and being out and about and things like that. So I like the direction we're going with the May. I'd like to push even further. I know one administrator mentioned that teaching 8th grade math, she liked when they didn't have computers assigned to the kids. So it wasn't their computer. So it wasn't theirs to have like all done up and all the quick links and stuff. And she could put computers out to the students when she wanted to, and she'd take them back when she didn't want to have them. She said that was much more effective. In her opinion, that was a much more effective way to teach math. But that was her opinion. So.
Yeah, just for discussion's sake, the reason that I do have the disagreement with you on that, Josh, is because, as I mentioned in the meeting we had where we talked about this, there are certain applications offered by the district that you can't get through a personal device. So like, if I want my son to access Epic or IXL or something like that, they have to have the district device to do so. So while I can understand your side, and I think, like, to me at that point, it comes down to parenting and what your decision is in the household. And if you're against having them, then the choice is, the language is there, you just don't let them come home, right? Problem solved. And while I 100% agree in the play-based childhood, and we as a personal family are always trying to get our kids outside and off of devices, I've seen a lot of good come from them as well. So that's why I'm a big proponent of the May, is because some of those things can't be accessed from personal devices and are used for enrichment purposes.
My thing is we should lead by example, because I'm with you that they're a tool. It's one of those things where when you hold a hammer, the world's problems are nails, and we're going to use the same tool for all of it. Take them, reduce them what we're doing them in the school, and then I'm with you. Give the parents a choice. If your parent says they're not coming home, great. We've fulfilled that requirement for people that said we don't want them home. And I'm with you. The 1 to 2 days that we may miss a year, at that point, I guess we're looking at this a lot of times, I think, as a COVID thing where for months we were gone. Yeah, that's a whole different deal. If we get one, and I don't know what the statistic is, but like 1 to 2 snow days a year, maybe we miss 1 to 2 snow days a year and we build it into a schedule in the future or something like that. I don't know.
That's fair. Any other comments on the book? Okay. Then with that, we'll move on to.
Well, any comments? What's our next book? I like this book club thing.
Yeah,
I know why Oprah does it now.
I do have a couple in mind that I'll bring and present to you guys going forward, and maybe we can make a vote on it. But there are some other good ones out there that I think are beneficial to.
Other topics?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes,
Thank you.
of course. Trustee reports. So I'll just open the floor to you guys if you have any comments from any of your subcommittees. Go.
Okay, in the last month, I did attend the Farson Advisory Committee meeting. Mostly just provided some, there was some insight on some recent accomplishments. Overall, the only thing that particularly was coming back the direction of the board was, as I'm sure Mr. Celeroli is aware, there's been considerable delays with the playground situation out there, and they were hoping that, in fact, they may have already sent it out. I haven't seen it yet, but they were drafting a letter basically encouraging us to, if at all possible, avoid using that contractor in the future. So I just said I'd bring it up. Otherwise, also attended Pilot Butte Elementary's Famous Figures presentation. That was super cool. The fifth graders essentially got to choose someone throughout history, research them, and make a presentation specifically to the sixth graders, but also to their parents and other adults in the area. What I thought was most interesting about that was watching the students. They did pretty well with the sixth graders, but presenting to adults, obviously, that's tough for all of us. So I think it was really, really important. It gave them that experience to be able to do that in a setting. Plenty of work to do, but I was really proud of them for standing up and facing their nerves and getting that done. And then I just wanted to speak briefly on the leadership meeting from last week. The biggest thing, and unfortunately for Josh and Danielle, that I'm sad you guys missed, was the atmosphere in that meeting was amazingly positive. I mean, you probably saw some of it online, but first of all, just walking in here and seeing the teachers with their matching t-shirt, or the administrators with their matching t-shirts, that was such a neat idea. It was such a positive, collaborative effort. I've had concerns over the past several years over just the environment and the atmosphere in the district. If anybody still has those concerns, seeing a meeting like that would totally turn it around. It was the favorite meeting that I've attended all year so far, just because of that atmosphere. Administrators, they weren't afraid to speak their mind. In fact, they were very, very open with their thoughts and opinions and feelings on things. And so just really kudos to the administration for creating that atmosphere and really getting the teachers engaged. A couple things that came out of there. We obviously had a great discussion regarding the weapons policy, visitors, and cell phone policies. There was some comments that I really took to heart, and one was, especially with the cell phone policies, we've really we're trying to create a more positive atmosphere within the board, within the schools, within the administration, and to the extent possible, as we're moving forward with this school-free or phone-free schools idea, if we can lead with education and really try to make it a positive thing and not a punitive negative thing. Obviously, students are going to feel the way they feel. But I do think there's a lot that we can do moving forward to really try to frame this in a positive light and not as something punitive. And that was expressed by many of the administrators there. And then honestly, I was surprised. I've had my own feelings about the one-to-one tech in the classrooms. I think there are ways to teach kids without having a computer 24/7. But what really impressed me was how many of those administrators, without any prompting, stood up and said, yeah, phones are fine. What I want to do is do something about these iPads and laptops that we're doing in here. So for the administrators that were there and the teachers that have struggled with this, I, for one, definitely heard you. And I certainly hope that in our discussions moving forward, we can address that as well. And that's all I have.
Mine's about finance. Pretty exciting, huh? Before I jump into finance, we got to attend the meeting. I was remote. Wasn't around, but it was good to hear all the ideas. And the question was posed, like we first started talking about what would it take to get phones out of the schools and how that would look and the challenges, which there would be. We went backwards though, and put the question out there to all the administrators. Do you feel like this is necessary? Like, are we overthinking this? And I don't think a single person spoke up that they don't want to see a diminishing in phones in schools. So I think everybody's kind of on board with, we know there's a problem. We just have different ways of looking at how to get there. And I think that's great. So we can, as long as we're working towards it, and with that, where it ends up in the end is good. I think there's just a lot of support for just trying to get our kids' attention back in the classroom and helping them learn. As far as finance goes, with the decision on financing from the state, there has been a third party person out of USC. I only know he went to USC because in the 4-hour meeting he mentioned USC at least 30 times, if not more. But that makes him smart, I guess. But basically, they're doing meetings all over the state where they're a recalibration meeting, and his only job is to take questions from those involved in education, be it all the way from parents to administrators and all that. And he's going to take those questions to the state's key recalibration committee within the legislature to try to find ways to make funding of schools match what they're looking for. So they do have another one tomorrow. So I did one online, about a 4-hour meeting. It's actually very helpful, very informative. But it will be here in Rock Springs tomorrow. And I don't know the location off the top of my head, but if there's anybody that wants to go to it, I think it's a good effort. And something can be gathered from it. I won't be able to make it tomorrow, but so if you're interested, let me know. So it could be parents, it could be teachers, anybody that's got a stake in this. They're not answering questions on how they're going to fund schools. It's really just an open discussion to get the concerns from the education side so they can pass it on to the legislature. So I put that out to anybody. And just let me know. I can find the location. I couldn't find it in my email right off. But there were a lot of great questions raised about how we're going to fund schools going forward. And then last, looking at our income and expenses through this point of the year, it looks like we're running pretty good. We spent about 72% of our budget, and which is pretty solid as far as I can tell, and our cash balances look good.
So I had the foundation committee. Again, they were going back over their scholarship group. Did a great year this year. So we seem to have made some changes with the website. So thank you for IT and everybody that way for doing it, making it a better, easier process for people to apply. So this is one of their highest years for people actually applying. So I'm really excited to see it. I would love to see us as a board start to try and find more scholarship people. Like most of these scholarships are like $500 to $1,000, and they've got 9 to 12 of them. I really think, but we're not going out and seeking these, and we're just kind of passively, if somebody says that they want to provide a scholarship, we're allowing it. I think we can help a lot more kids.
I mean, there is a lot of businesses that could afford $500 a year for a scholarship. And the foundation oversees it. They have a committee set up to oversee making sure that these kids are getting it. I think it would be great. Like, there's a lot of community members that would be willing to provide $500, $300, $1,000 a year for this. So I told them I would try and do my best to start pushing to get the word out that if you can do this, please, let's start, see if we can get some more of these. I mean, our foundation scholarship program is really pretty small compared to a lot of other places. There are other places you're talking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year being given out, and we're just not anywhere close. But and I don't think that's anybody's fault. I think it's just been kind of a passive deal. So I'm going to do my best to get the word out that if you are willing to provide a scholarship to the school district for kids coming out, please seek the help of the foundation committee. They can get you set up and find ways to actually make that occur. I would love to see that. The other thing I would like to say, all of us on the board attended at least one graduation. They were awesome. It was very nice. I will give the high school credit. I got a tremendous amount of concerns leading into this one because of the year before, and I was not there, so I have no dogs in the fight. It was very well done. So whoever managed that, awesome. I thought it was great as a community to see things seem to go off without a hitch for the most part. And I was at 3 of them, and all of them were great. I'm sorry I missed Wamsutter. I will get to you guys next year, but it was really nice to see. And that's all that I got. Oh, I do have one more. Dan, I missed the rec board thing. Was there anything important that I missed for that one? It's my first one I missed. I am sorry. I'll make it to the next one. Nothing was dramatically important that you felt that I should report on. Perfect. Dan just happens to be in that group, so I didn't want to not get that information out if they needed it.
Dr. Franks, go ahead.
The biggest thing, well, the wellness committee, we're kind of one of the smarter committees, in my opinion, because we've taken 2 months off. So, we need to rest our minds. But anyway, what I was going to comment on, over the last couple of weeks, I had the enjoyment and experience of interviewing the Health Academy students, the seniors going out. And so kind of the background with this is they are applying for jobs, so they do resumes, they get dressed up, they have to come before us and present their resumes, and they're even have to take a picture or draw with the dressing or wearing, which is pretty cool. And my thought, because now as I look at myself, is I'm like, you know what? I always thought I was like 16, and then when you walk down the hall, someone's like, "Excuse me, sir," you're like, "Yeah." No, sorry. But anyway, it was a good experience. These kids were very professional, and it gives me hope. Because, first of all, I'm going to play the selfish card. I'm getting older. I want some good people there to take care of me. So it was a breath of fresh air to have these kids come and interview, because I was like, dude, they are really on it. So that was a great aspect. So I give kudos to the students. I give kudos to the teachers that teach them all. And I give kudos for specifically the parents and family raising these kids, because you guys are making a difference. Whether it shows or not, you truly are. So that's awesome. The other thing is, graduations were amazing. Farson, it brought back good memories to me, because you see everyone in that town together, cowboy hats, Wranglers, and boots, and I'm like, oh, I'm homesick, and they just care as a community. Rock Springs graduation was great as well. I mean, that whole entire stadium was filled for the support of family for their kids. So it's just good to see unity coming back. And more importantly, it's getting stronger, I think. And I think, and so that's just a good thing for us to come into being. Change sometimes is a good thing. It's slow sometimes to respond, but it's a good thing. And so we're starting to see this more and more. So again, we just really thank the teachers, the parents, community, and the students for bringing this change about.
So the main policy or committee that I have been a part of is policy, and we've had all the meetings lately. We did not take 2 months off. But you've heard most of what we've been talking about there. What I wanted to report on was that I did get the opportunity to attend Teton Science School this May with my daughter and her friends and all of her classmates. And it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. It was great to see just a different type of learning and how that was intriguing to the students and how it kept their attention, all the things that kind of go along with that. It was a long bus ride, and so that was another experience when it comes to our teachers and staff. I think that you definitely can underappreciate what our teachers and staff deal with. It was all 4th grade level, but kudos to them for what they do every day with our kids and going on an overnight trip for multiple days with everyone, and not even anything wrong with the children. It's a lot. So I definitely appreciate them a little bit more by watching how they control their students and how they go about managing them and how well they listen and respond to it, because it is pretty great. But the program itself was awesome. I know that I talked to Dr. Libby up there because he did go up there for it as well, and he's looking at trying to see if maybe we can get some more opportunities down, maybe through the winter, all of those types of things too. I did speak with another family who their children go to the Catholic school, but they get to go to Teton Science School in the winter, and they said it was such a fun experience, even for their 4th graders and younger kids, because they got to do some snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. They got to do just something different that some of the kids wouldn't get that opportunity to do as well, which even going in May, still the same. Not everyone gets to go up in the mountains and get that experience, but it sounds like it would be fun to do as well. So it was really great to see Dr. Libby's interest in maybe expanding that and trying to go at different times throughout the year.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'd echo several of the things that were said. In fact, just a shout out to Blackview. I know that we can't do what they do at their graduation at the high school, but it was really cool the way they personalized their graduation and allowed somebody important to hand them their diploma and kind of have a backstory with that. So pretty touching. From the communications committee, I do know that the district has posted for a full-time communications rep, which I think is step 1 in the right direction. Probably worth us reconvening and kind of now talking about, once that person's here, what methods of communication should we use for what intent? I know there's been some questions around overusage of Parent Square, underusage of Parent Square. Maybe I don't have children in the district, but I still want to know this is going on, and some of those kind of things. So something that we probably better jump back on top of. Felt like I was going to say one other thing on the trustee reports, but we'll go ahead and move on to our roll call. So, Mer.
Mrs. Wood. Mrs. Schumacher.
Here.
Mr. Franks.
Here.
Mr. Gardner.
Here.
Mr. Suppy.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Chair Wright.
Here, sorry. Phones are a distraction. Point proven. Just did that for the record. Okay, move on to item B, approval of the agenda. If I can please have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, including addendums. It's been moved by Dr. Franks, second by Mr. Sorensen. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item number 4 is our public comment section. Thank you for attending today's board meeting and for your ongoing engagement with the district. As we move into the public comment portion, we kindly ask that each speaker limit their comments to 1 opportunity. If you have already submitted written comments, we kindly request that you refrain from addressing the board again on the same topic. All written comments will be posted in the written public comment section of the agenda for review by all attendees, including trustees. If you have a concern regarding a district employee, please know that in order to protect privacy and ensure due process, such matters will be addressed in a closed session. We encourage you to utilize the district's official complaint process, which can be found on the district website along with the necessary forms. If you are unable to finish your comments within the allotted 3 minutes, we invite you to submit the remainder in writing to the superintendent or board chair. These submissions will be shared with all board members after the meeting and will receive a response in the same manner as public comments. With that in mind, we did not receive any written public comments, so we will open it up to in-person public comments.
Good evening, board members. I'm Laura McKee, and as a concerned parent and community member, I urge you to carefully scrutinize the proposed $75,000 purchase of Reading Horizon materials. I want to take a minute to remind the board of the new law, Prohibition of Institutional Discrimination, which is HB 147. President Trump's executive order and the Department of Education directive to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. These policies reflect a refocus on a merit-based education and the value of truth and individual dignity, which I think we can all agree is very important. Wyoming's new law, Prohibition of Institutional Discrimination, is effective July 1st, and it prohibits government entities, including school districts, from engaging in DEI programs that promote differential treatment or institutional discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity, or national origin. President Trump Executive Order 14151, January 20th of 2025, and Executive Order 14173, January 21st, 2025, mandates the termination of all federal DEI programs and contracts on February 14th, 2025. The Department of Ed's Office for Civil Rights issued a Dear Colleague letter declaring that many DEI programs violate Title VI by favoring certain racial groups, requiring schools to comply within 14 days or risk losing federal funding, including Title I grants like the one that you're using to purchase this program. Begging another question of what would happen if the Title I funds were revoked? Would the district be responsible for the remaining funds? Reading Horizon openly promotes DEI in its educational programs and employee practices, as documented on their website and reviews. Their materials emphasize equitable instruction, multilingual support, which may align with accessibility laws, but risk crossing into DEI frameworks prohibited by HB 147 and federal directives. The company's internal DEI framework prohibited by HB 147 and federal directives could influence in curriculum, potentially conflicting with our state and the national stance against ideological instruction. I encourage the board to ask these questions from Reading Horizon. Do your materials include lessons or reference to social justice, identity, politics, or systematic inequity? Ask Reading Horizons for detailed lesson plan or sample material to evaluate whether DEI-related themes, social justice or identity politics, are present. Will you certify that your materials do not violate Wyoming HB 47, President Trump's order, and the Department of Education anti-DEI directives? To ensure compliance, the district must review these materials thoroughly and establish oversight to prevent DEI infiltration. If Reading Horizons cannot guarantee alignment with Wyoming laws and federal directives, I urge you to explore alternative programs like the Wilson Foundation, Logic, or English Foundation. Both focus solely on literacy without ideological baggage. Let's protect our students.
Ms. McGee, would you submit the rest of that in writing,
Yes,
please?
I was just going to say that, just that, it's pretty much over, but just that, let's just try to prioritize truth for our kids, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Other public comments?
Hello, my name is Sherelle O'Driscoll, and I come as a parent. My question is, when you guys had your discussion topic earlier about changing your policy, was it EDJ, I believe? I walked in during the topic. If that policy were to change and you have to meet the July 1st deadline, does that allow for the 2 readings and the public? I didn't get.
Are you talking about the concealed carry?
Yeah. I just want to make sure we follow that policy correctly, that it does get 2 readings in there, or otherwise you're violating your own policy. So I just wanted to get a little bit of clarification on that. If you have to meet that July 1st deadline, what is so bad about following the WSBA of what they have implemented, and then that give us time for discussion, and then we implement our own, or can we not do that?
So I'll go ahead and respond to this right now. I was going to share this anyways when we talked about the concealed carry. So we did have a board workshop prior to this meeting, and essentially the timeline is that the concealed carry policy is coming out for information purposes in this meeting. It would be open for public feedback, at which point I am suggesting that if you have any comments or suggestions, you can obviously submit them through the process or provide public comment at our next meeting. So June's a little bit unique. We're going to have a second board meeting on, is it the 23rd? On the 23rd, where you can provide public comment as well, to where we would not be making a decision on approving that policy or not until after public comment. So this template that we're using is actually the WSBA template. What we've added to that currently is what's in red, which if you look, the only sections are around training district employees. So please
And
feel
training is provided by the state.
free.
You are aware of that.
Yeah, so this is the discussion that the district had with local law enforcement on what they felt by their expertise would be good or beneficial to somebody if they chose to take this path. So you guys can correct me if you feel differently or if I state this wrong, but essentially this was school district number 1 providing what we thought was a benefit to those who chose to conceal carry, to make sure that they knew how to properly handle a firearm, to discharge a firearm, as well as some scenario-based training that simply put them through some situations that they had to think through, so that in the event that something happened, they weren't thinking on the spot, what do I do now? They had been through something that had provided them some forethought on how they would handle that situation. So really it was the idea that we're trying to provide a way to be helpful to those that went this direction. If we chose not to adopt this policy by July 1, it would revert back to just state law. And as I mentioned, this is without the red, this is WSBA's template that other districts are using. So you have a variety of things happening around the state. Some districts are just reverting to state law. Some districts are using the policy with no changes or amendments, and then other districts are making their own unique situation similar to what we have. If we chose not to adopt that by July 1 and go to the state specifications, and at least as far as I understand, it's a consensus at this point in time that this is putting one foot in the right direction. I will tell you that there are things that are still being debated at the state level, such as what direct control means, and that language being somewhat ambiguous. If some clarification came out around that post July 1, we could then revisit this policy and make updated changes to it at that point in time. So it's kind of working with what we've been given to us at this time.
I appreciate that. I just think it comes at the summertime when many people are not paying as much of attention. So I just really hope that on your guys' end, you make sure that the public is aware, so people can come and do the comment section on there and just really be forefront and really let us know what's going on. Because it is a sensitive topic. And I don't think that, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. So if and we need to have these conversations, let's please have them.
Yeah, and the other thing I probably should add in that I was going to mention as well is this is not visitor policy. The district already has a policy in place for visitors. However, that's an active ongoing discussion at the leadership meeting within the district with our administrators what that needs to look like. And so I made the comment in the workshop that to some degree we're putting the cart ahead of the horse because we don't know exactly what the district's going to decide that visitor policy might look like. So please, from the sake of the concealed carry, as well as if you are a parent or a visitor to the buildings, provide us your feedback because we are in active discussions right now and your feedback is valuable, that we need to know how this is going to impact all the different groups. But I think it's, and of course, please know we still have a few weeks ahead of us of revisions and things like that. But I think this is our plan on putting our best foot forward and then rolling with the punches, if you will. So seeing what comes next, what clarification comes with it, because we believe, or I think I can speak for the board, that this is better than what state law is offering at this time.
But if we don't come to the conclusion by January 1, are we penalized in a way? Or can we continue until we implement ours and
We're
get it
not
figured out?
penalized. We just have to revert to the language they've provided
Until we figure ours
until
out.
we figure
Okay,
ours out.
I just wanted some clarification on that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Carissa Williams, and I'm a homeschooling parent of 11 years here in Sweetwater County. I'm here tonight to thank you and also to ask for your continued support of students' access to district sports activities and classes. This comes because Washakie and Carbon County have made decisions like this presently. Even though I homeschool, I hold a deep respect and gratitude for our public schools. My mom has been a public school teacher in another state for over 30 years, and many of my close friends work right here in Sweetwater County School District Number 1. I see firsthand the dedication, time, and heart our educators, coaches, and staff pour into their students and our community. 2 of my sons are proud participants in Sweetwater County School District Number 1 athletics. Their involvement in sports has helped shape their character, discipline, and sense of teamwork. My daughter desires to participate in choir, band, and theater in the future. These programs give homeschooling students vital opportunities for growth, challenge, and connection with their peers. Under Wyoming Statute 214506, districts are required to allow resident homeschool students to participate in activities sanctioned by the Wyoming High School Activities Association. This law is clear. These students can't be charged more than full-time enrolled students, and they must meet the same standards and rules, which we gladly accept that responsibility. To put this into perspective, in Wyoming, there are only approximately 3,900 reported homeschool students during the 22-23 school year. That's about 4% of the state's K-12 population. With roughly 4,800 students in District 1, 4% translates only to about 192 students in the entire district and an even smaller percentage of students who participate in district activities. We are a small portion of the population, but for our kids, these opportunities make a big impact. But this conversation is about more than numbers or legal rights. It's about community. Homeschool families are a part of this district, and we want to continue being a part of its success. We're not asking for special treatment, just for the chance to be included. Does this small population have a negative impact on the district? If so, how can we mitigate that? And if not, then why is this even a question in districts to exclude them? Sweetwater County School District Number 1's mission is to provide a quality education for all students. You emphasize making students your first priority. Homeschool families are part of this community. I also want to note that the Wyoming High School Activities Association homeschool agreement for homeschool families, we have to pay $100 to be an affiliate school membership, as well as $7 for catastrophic insurance per student in grades 5 through 12. Not just for high school age students. This implies that WASHA, I think that's how they say it, does not just cover high school, but all students. I do have a printout of the form too. It's online and everything, but you can see I have to pay every year when my students participate $100 fee for sports plus $7 per student. So thank you for your time and for everything you do for our kids. But please keep this opportunity available for homeschool students. We're stronger when we work together.
Thank you. Further public comment?
Set my timer so I don't go over.
It's up there on the screen for you too.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. My name is Bill Formanek. I thank the board, ladies and gentlemen, for the chance to address you and the audience here. some of the board members I had met previously. Well, I know we're talking about the concealed carry a lot. Let me ask members of the board, have any of you ever had a handgun pointed at you? No hands go up. Well, I have. It's been a long time ago when I was in college, probably the first of many of these gray hairs I've gotten over the years. But I am a very, very strong believer. I'm very disappointed that the legislature passed this law, but it's the hand we've been dealt. We have to deal with it. I would like to encourage the board to be respectful of the law. However, let's not make the policy as permissive as possible. Within the confines of the law, I'd request the board be as stringent adopting our policy in compliance with the law. Let's not make it easy. I know we have to comply. As Mr. Sorensen brought up, and I think Dr. Seppi brought up about the cell phones in school, I teach in the junior high, not the high school, but it's a problem in the junior high as well. But I'll confine my comments to the open carry. I am a very, very strong believer. Guns do not belong in schools, period. And I ask the board to really take my gray hairs and my worries and my thoughts for the boys and girls growing up. Yes, we're in Wyoming. We have a strong gun culture. Okay, that's great. But there are just some things and some places, weapons like this do not belong. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, board members. Thank you. My name is Darren McCann. I'm representative for House District 48. I'm going to represent the other side of the coin. I'm here to address the proposed firearms personnel authorized to carry policy. As a supporter of the Wyoming Repeal Gun-Free Zones Act, I commend your efforts, but I have some concerns about the policy structure and implementation on that note. I didn't catch the workshop, so if you've addressed some of this, my apologies. First, the policy reads like a fill-in-the-blank template, raising questions about its origin. Was it drafted locally or provided by an external organization? Clarity on this would ensure it was tailored to our community and not some outside control. Second, the definition of volunteer is critically flawed, vague and grammatically incorrect, and overly broad, lumping chaperones in with one-time delivery drivers. This is confusing language, risks wrongful application, and could expose the district to litigation from misinterpretations or inconsistent enforcements. It also creates a bureaucratic nightmare and enforcement issues. I encourage you to simplify it. I have suggestions I can provide for you if you would like. Third, and most critically, the policy places, at least as I read it, financial burdens on your mandatory training on the employee and volunteers. This, again, if this was addressed, completely ignores Wyoming Statute 21-3-136, which authorized reimbursement for such expenses. State Superintendent Megan Degenfelter has explicitly encouraged districts to utilize this funding. I can forward you the memo if you would like. But not leveraging this funding, the district unfairly burdens dedicated staff and volunteers and discouraging participation. I urge the board to revise the policy by simplifying the volunteer definition and explicitly stating the district will reimburse training costs through the state's funding model. Thank you for your service and consideration.
Thank you. Representative McCann, if you'd like, you can submit any of that documentation to Ms. Bolton and she can distribute it to the board. And then those additional questions we can follow up with at our next board meeting during our response to previous month's public comment. Further public comment?
Good evening. My name is Allie Moser. I come before you today as a parent and a community member. I know there are a lot of heavy things on your minds and decisions that need to be made this summer. But I would like to speak to some comments that were made at last month's board meeting when we received the update on the new high school. One comment was particularly concerning to me as a mother of student athletes. The cost breakdown for some of the athletic facilities seemed high, so I did a little bit of research myself. Hearing $40 million quoted for a new high school pool seemed absurd. I don't know what type of facility is being quoted, but looking at the cost of pools around the state, I would say that although we want the very best for our students, a $40 million pool is excessive at best. I know the costs have gone up quite a bit over the last few years, but I would like to make some comparisons. Kelly Walsh built an aquatic center with integrated diving well that utilizes a movable bulkhead to simultaneously have swimming and diving practice, along with men's and women's locker rooms, coaches' offices, spectator seating for up to 750 spectators, and team seating, all for $10.2 million. In 2019, Cheyenne Central High School built a new pool for $10.2 million. I've been to almost all of these facilities across the state, and they're all very nice. In 2021, Natrona County High School built a new pool for $10.2 million. In 2022, Cheyenne East built a new high school pool for $16 million. This pool is 32,700 square feet, includes a 10-lane pool with movable bulkhead, restrooms, shower and locker rooms, mechanical equipment room, pool equipment storage room, spectator seating, and competitor seating areas, along with an administrative office and custodial room for $16 million. Why are we talking about $40 million? When a new pool for $40 million is compared to an indoor track and field facility that would only cost $10 million, of course our community is going to shoot down a new pool. But why are we willing to shortchange some of our students? The new pool would not only be amazing for our high school and junior high student athletes, but Wendy Bider has successfully run an academically enhancing swim PE program for many years at our high school. Our students are able to not only learn to swim, enhance their ability to swim, but they're also able to become lifeguard and scuba certified. Allowing them to learn skills and become lifeguards allows them to be employable in our community. The College Rec Center and Civic Center are always looking to hire lifeguards. Our students are the target employees for these positions. However, if we don't have a pool for our students, none of this is possible. Many high school pools around the state and in surrounding states are also used by elementary school students for swim lessons during PE. This is an amazing opportunity that some students won't get any other way. Every student in our district would benefit from a new high school pool. I ask you to look into what is actually needed in a new facility. Our rec center offers a great place for a lazy river, rock wall, infant pool, and much more. We don't need that in a high school pool. I believe it is possible to build a $10 million indoor track and field, soccer, softball, football facility, and a $12 million pool. All of our students deserve to have an amazing experience at a beautiful facility. Many of our community members, myself included, are willing to help make this new high school a place where all of our students can be successful. But it's up to you to make that happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Moser. I would like to comment on this. I was going to share it during trustee reports, but this is my perspective. I think the words shared during the education corner last month were a bit taken out of context. It was our desire to provide some potential examples of thoughts that were being discussed. I do know that there is a $40 million pool facility out there. I do know that there are lesser $10 million facilities that are perfectly adequate as well. So I will tell you guys that from a board perspective, we want it all. And we understand that the $40 million pool is not necessary. We were attempting to make some generalizations about the discussions that are being had and the considerations that need to be taken place. So we've had suggestions like a planetarium, like, the indoor track and field, the pool, what it needs to look like. The good news is we are very actively requesting feedback and going to go through a process of evaluating all of these things with the community, with one another, with the students that it impacts. And so the idea behind that education corner was to start flowing information out about what the process is going to look like, what some of the things we need to consider are. And to no fault of anybody's, but I'm just going to say, I think the comment around the $40 million pool got taken and ran with when we weren't suggesting that that's the one and only solution. So please know that this is an ongoing thing. We want to continue and we will continue having discussions around this. We did not do an education corner this month. We don't plan to do it next month because of the lack of involvement during the summer months. However, as this new high school unfolds, we are going to be having meetings with community members and so forth to really get the feedback and unfold and look at what this looks like. So thank you for your comments. We have all that same information. It's on our radar, and we will absolutely be fair to the process of rolling out what this looks like. Further public comment? Yeah, you're good.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Tolman. I'm the Chief Information Officer. Dr. Franks, your shirt is diabolical.
Thank
I
you.
just had to tell you that.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
Further public comment? Further public comment? Again, I would just like to throw out there, please attend the next board meeting. If you have comments or suggestions you want to share around the concealed carry, it would be our intent to take all the feedback and make the best policy we can and meet the deadline that we need to meet. So July 1. Oh, the next meeting? June 23rd. Yes. Sorry, July 1 is when the policy needs to be in place by. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 5, the consent agenda.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Seppi.
I'm requesting that section E be removed from the consent agenda.
Okay, so we will hold item E for the consent agenda and discuss that after this. If I can have a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented and or amended pending holding item E. It's been moved by Mr. Sorensen. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Franks. All those in favor, please say, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, in reference to item E, Mr. Celeroli, would you mind discussing the plan to move forward with Plan 1 Architects and the new high school? If you'll just share the process with the savings and why it's being suggested that we move forward with them.
Board Chair, members of the board. With this, if you remember, we've talked about this several times, and even when we went back and the original design of the school, it's a joint venture between Bassetti Architects out of Seattle, Washington, and Plan 1. Plan 1 is the local. And that's pretty common because that's a huge project. And originally, originally they were the team together that developed the master plan for the original build out of the school, as well as the 131,000 square foot project that was supposed to occur and where the 40,000 square foot project, satellite school is. So through the years, when we were declined the money to build a full high school, Plan 1 was, they were the architects of record that came to the select committees and showed how the school would be added on to the final build out. So right now for us, we got to get moving on this school. Once again, I attended a select committee meeting last week. One of the first things came up is where are we at in the Rock Springs High School? So in order to save time, the state has a process where we can actually ask and we request if we can, just use the architects of record, since we have so much of the building already designed, a lot of the testing, and they own the design. We don't own the design, it's theirs. So the state has a process in at our meetings with the state of Wyoming school facilities. They recommended that we go ahead and The only way that we could do something like this is you have to put in a request for the exception of bid process. And the only way you ever get something like that is you have to show a significant savings to the school, to the state of Wyoming. So we gave Plan 1 roughly 2 months to come up with a budget that showed significant savings to continue the project. And if that was significant enough, that we put in a request for the state. State has to approve it. I don't get to say, well, we'd like to use Plan 1, so we're going to use them. That's not how it works. You have to actually show why you want to continue. The state in the past has done this several times on many projects. They usually, if we didn't have so much time passed, they would have just extended the contract. But because so much time has passed, we actually have to go through the whole contract process again. So if the state was to say, no, we want you to go ahead with a fresh design, then we would have to go out for RFPs, RFQs. It takes 4 to 6 months. That would put us quite a bit behind on the project. Our goal here is to continue with the project as quickly as possible. The state has given the architect, Plan 1 and Bassetti, 12 months to get this thing out to bid. That's pretty fast for in Wyoming. The savings that came about was because they're building another school up in Campbell County, and so we kind of have an idea what it costs to do that school, which is roughly the same as what our school is. And so generally when you go out to bid on a project, architect fees are anywhere from 8 to 9% of the project cost. That's pretty standard. But we actually had a hard cost based on another school. And Plan 1 was the architect of that school, and they were the low bid on that school. So we came in $1.5 million less than what fair market value for that school was. So that is a significant savings to the state of Wyoming. The budget doesn't get cut 1.5, but we saved 1.5. So the potential of using that 1.5 to something in the project is there. So financially, it's a benefit for us to stay with the same contractor. It just makes good sense to not redesign the wheel because they already have a good portion of the school. The other area too is they're familiar with the existing building, and when you add on a building, you just don't add on to it. You have to renovate the building that is there. The existing building has to be renovated to accommodate all the new additions. So they already have this inside information. They have all of the add-ons and how they're going to add on. So it just really makes sense to use them. It saves time, it saves money. And honestly, I tease them because we got to beat Gillette. I mean, we got to get our building up before those guys. They started after us, and they're working on their architect, and they're running into the same issues that we would run into. We already have everything running. Our money is there. And everyone here knows, over legislative session, I had to go down and talk with legislators because I always tell everybody when it comes to legislators, it's not your money till it's spent. Correct? So it's up, and we need to move on this project. So I strongly recommend, and the reason why we're asking that I get to sign off this budget agreement is because with the process can take up to 2 weeks for the state to approve our exception to go out to bid. It can come tomorrow. It can come Friday. As soon as we get it, I want to sign it, send it in, because then we're at the design phase and the clock starts ticking 12 months.
Thank you. Any further questions on this item?
I guess my question is along the lines of Ms. Mosier's public comment. So since there's still a lot of unknowns about the extra stuff in the building, does this affect that in any way, shape, or form? Or is this just getting to that process where we can start figuring out, auxiliary gyms and things that are?
I've had conversation with Dr. Libby if he was, and I'll wait for his official word. But generally speaking, the way it works on my end is once we get the architect approved, then we start on the basic design, because the basic design does not include any enhancements, right? So this school, the way it is, it's no enhancements. It is enhancement free. So once we get the design for that, then we have to come together, the rec board, the school board, community members, and get together and say, okay, what do we want for enhancements? What's the general cost? So now you're looking at, okay, who's going to pay for an architect? Because the architect, and I would assume it's the same people because they're tying in the building, because they're already there, they'll give us a price, a general idea of what it would cost to do all of these. And then again, with the swimming pool, we need to decide. It was an interesting comment at the select committee. At the select committee, and I agree 100% what you said about the beautiful pools in some of these areas. The comment was made at the select committee. There are only 3 places in the state where they can actually hold these big meets, and they're all in the east part of the state. Okay, so the number that came here was a number that I was asked for a swimming facility that accommodated other things, which is what they're doing on the other side of the state. So I hear what everybody's saying, and I know that it's a big ticket number, but we have to decide, are we going to get in the game and host these things, which is beneficial to people? I get it. We have a $16 million school in Green, or a pool facility in Green River, but I'm not a swimmer, never been a parent of a swimmer. But I also understand that when they have big meets, a lot of people have to watch them on TV. They don't have enough room for the spectators. So, I mean, as a community, these are things that we need to, sit down and decide. I don't decide it. The board doesn't decide it. It's the community that decides what we get. And is it going to be beneficial for the business people in this community? How does it affect, that kind of stuff? If we go out for a bond, what's, payback on that? So there's a lot of things to consider before we move forward with any of the enhancements. And state statute says that when we have a bond go out, the bond has to maintain no less than 3% of the bond for the future maintenance of it. And just because we decide this is what we'd like, it still has to go before the school board commission for approval. So there's a lot of work ahead, but like the old song, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. So we're going to have to come together pretty quick.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
So this one's a mouthful on its own, but I need to have a motion to approve the Director of Facilities, Dan Celeroli, to sign the project agreement between Sweetwater County School District Number 1 and Plan 1 Architects for the design of the new Rock Springs High School, pending the bid exception approval request from the state of Wyoming. It's been moved by Mr. Gardner, second. Second by Mr. Sorensen. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item 6, transportation bus routes for the 2025-2026 school year. Those are for board information. Item 7 is the alternative schedules. So everybody's aware, we have voted on these previously. However, there's a clarification that needed to be made on a PD date. That's all that's changed on this. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the alternative schedules for all in-town schools and desert school for the 2025-2026 and 2026-2027 school years.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mr. Garner. Second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Schumacher. All those in favor, please say aye. Yes. Thank you. Discussion. Josh, feel free.
Just a question that popped up in my head. Is there a reason now that we're 4-day here and 4-day in Farson? Is there a reason why we do separate Farson from Desert and Rock Springs anymore? There may be a good reason.
Different needs based in the communities, and when the town and Wamsutter just were going to a 4-day week, those differences in needs were expressed. Farson actually works, I think, more days than in town and Wamsutter, because what they do on the non-PD days with the district, they're running Friday school every single Friday, and their staff rotate that. So their school's not closed. And so honestly, it was based off of the need of the community, but they work more days than in town and Wamsutter.
That's an interesting program.
Mhm.
Curious to
Yeah.
maybe that benefit here. Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8 is the approval for the 2025-2026 Human Resources Salary Schedule. If I can please have a motion to approve. Been moved by Mr. Sorensen. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Garner. Any discussion on this one? Thanks for catching me again. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item 9, we've got the approval of several policies. So 9A is the approval of policy JQ, No Child Left Behind Act of 2001. Can we do these all at once? No? Okay. Item B, approval of policy JP, No Child Left Behind Act. Approval of policy DLD, expense and travel expenses. Approval of policy GDG, support staff salary placement. And then item E is the approval of the new deductibles for the 1650 and 3300 high deductible health plan. A motion to approve these policies and the new deductibles for the health plan. Thank you. Moved by Dr. Franks. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garner. Any discussion on these?
Just really a comment for the benefit of the public that JQ and JP are what we're approving is actually the rescinding of those two policies due to the expiration of the No Child Left Behind federal statute. So we're approving the removal, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
My discussion would be to Ms. Schumacher, since she's on the dealing with this day to day. Is there any major concerns that you have to, as a board representative on the policy committee, that we need to address? Or do you feel like it's all pretty?
No, I believe it's pretty straightforward as far as that goes. And in the committees themselves, I didn't feel like there was anything that was really brought to anyone's attention that was a concern for anyone either.
Good, thank you.
I mean, and Nicole, you could speak otherwise if you felt differently.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item 10 is for board information. Again, we talked about policy CKA, the concealed carry policy. Policy JJIF is the student athlete concussion policy. And then item C, graduation dates for 2026. Again, those are just for information purposes. Item 11 is the vacancy notice as of June 9th, 2025. And item 11B is the Head Start Governing Board and Policy Council monthly report. With that in mind, I'd like to move forward to item 12, which is executive session. So that everybody is aware, I do not anticipate any action upon our return. Yes, but with that in mind, if I can please have a motion to adjourn our regular session and move into executive session.
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Schumacher, second. Second by Dr. Franks. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, can we please have a motion to return to regular session? It's been moved by Mr. Sorensen, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Schumacher. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. And with that in mind, we do have one last motion action to take. If Ms. Schumacher will read our motion, please.
Yes, I would move to extend the contract of Superintendent Joseph Libby through June 30th of 2028.
Thank you. So there's been a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. With that, we will close our meeting at 8:30 PM. Would you,
You will not. No, the other.
can we have another motion to close the meeting? Thank you. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, now we're closing it at 8:31.
I think we should start saying A, by the way.